This is my handmade in Poland Sterkowski hat. Sheep herding hat. Yeah, look at that. Oh. On my dad's mom's side, I am part Polish. Bought this a few years ago. It's super, super comfortable. Fits my head very well. I love it. It spent years smushed in a box and still looks like this. So it's a very good purchase on my part. So on to the topic of the video is what was my means of transportation in Scotland and what will be my means of transportation in Ireland. So I thoroughly enjoyed driving a stick shift. I'd spent about 2 hours of my life driving a stick shift before Scotland, and I did it in Scotland, and there was a bunch of killing the transmission and stuff like that, and having to just keep going or killing the clutch. And so there was a bunch of learning, but by the end of it, I felt better, and it was a good thing to have as a stressor instead of like things going wrong with travel plans. In fact, I only had 2 points that I wanted to hit on my entire trip in Scotland: family, heritage, and rocks geology. And so what was my means of travel was manual transmission, which is also called a stick shift, and compact car, small compact car, and that is what I will do in Ireland too. Even if I were a millionaire, and even if I were a billionaire or a trillionaire or a zillionaire, it would be manual transmission. It was just, I enjoyed the drive a lot more. I still love Lepton, my Toyota Corolla. That's an automatic, but it added to the experience doing manual transmission. So that was the what for the actual car. It was a Ford Fiesta rental car through Enterprise. And so how did I choose where to go? Well, that has a story. So the story is with Michelin maps, specifically one for Scotland, and then I have one for Ireland as well. And so what I did is, it's a bit faded now, but I had ones I really wanted to hit. That was a green. Orange was man-made. Pink, natural. Blue, animals, so like the chance I'd see animals. That color scheme kind of got mixed up as I was highlighting things. So for about a year before my trip, I would look up pictures or that kind of thing and decide on where I want to go. So the black line on here, I drew in as I went on my travel through Scotland. I spent 17 days, including airplane travel to and from Ireland. And so the things that are boxed in or handwritten in like this, I went to. So like I went to Old Aberdeen within Aberdeen, and I went to Dunatar Castle, that kind of thing. So I flew into Edinburgh, was there a little while, then went to see the Falkirk Kelpies, came up to Aberdeen. This is where I got my flat tires on this drive into Aberdeen. And that was, I was just like, I'd spent 2 hours with a stick shift, so I was already having a hard time, and I was just like breaking down, and it all got fixed, and I dealt with it and I moved on, and perfect thing to have as a stressor. And then, so Dunatar looked really cool. That was, that outside of my family was the coolest castle I visited. And then within my family, Huntly Castle was the coolest castle I visited. I'm part of the Gordon Highlanders clan. So Highlanders is North Scotland. Specifically, my bloodline of Gordon comes from the Aberdeen and Aberdeenshire area. And so Aberdeenshire is like here. You can kind of see it, Aberdeenshire. And so that's where my grandma, Rosemary Lee Gordon, comes from. So, and her middle name Lee is the last half of my middle name, Coralee. And then Cora comes from my great grandmother on my dad's side, from the Stiehl clan. She was Cora Steele of the Stiehl clan of Germany. And so my parents combined that to make Coralee. And it rhymes with one of my cousins' names, Lorley. Okay, and then back to Scotland. So after Huntly, I had to go to Loch Ness. I did not see Nessie, the Loch Ness monster, this time. And then after that, went through Inverness. That was a long day of driving. So I went Loch Ness, up, and I stayed in Kais for I think, was it 2 nights? Okay, I stayed in Kais. Then I went out here through I call this the lock lands because it was just like lock after lock after lock. And the driving was super boggy and I didn't get cell phone reception, so I legit had to pull out this map and figure out where I was going, old school paper style. Then in Ullapool, I caught a ferry out to the Outer Isles where I spent a number of days. Then I caught a ferry back into Uigs. There's 2 Uigs. There's one out here I went to, and then one in here. This is on the Isle of Skye. Spent some time at the Isle of Skye. I did not end up doing this little one here. After that, I came in, went down, another day of long driving, went out to the Glenfinnan Viaduct in Glenfinnan, stayed in Fort William. After Fort William, I went down to Glasgow for a couple days. After Glasgow, another day of long driving, I went down to Dumfries and saw the camera obscure. Where's Dumfries? Here's Dumfries. After that, drove out to Edinburgh and Sakar Point, and then finished at Edinburgh and went back home. So it was a lot of driving. It was about 2,000 miles of driving in 17 days, which was really good. I had to book all of my stuff in advance, where I was staying, and in Scotland, there's no refunds. So what that means is, even if I wanted to break down and be like, well, I don't want to drive the stick shift, I still had to. So it was a perfect way to be like, I know myself, and it's better to have the car to worry about than something else. So that was the outline of what I did in Scotland. And why am I tying this to Ireland? Because I, in addition to buying a Michelin map for Scotland, bought a Michelin map for Ireland. So these 2, yeah. I enjoyed the Michelin map enough and found it useful when I had to use it both for pre-trip and during trip that I was like, I will do this again. So I've started highlighting things. This has been in a bin for over a year, so there's not much things hidden highlighted on here. Oh yeah, the 2 points in Scotland I had to hit were Huntly Castle. That's a Gordon clan castle, so my clan, Gordon clan. And then the second point was Sakar Point, which is a huge, significant geologic spot for the history of geology. So I have 2 points like that in Ireland. The first is the Giant's Causeway, which has spectacular flood basalts, and I live in Washington State, and flood basalts are just something that I've grown up with, and so it goes back a few decades, the origins for wanting to go here. And then the second point that I absolutely want to hit is Malahide Castle. And so my flights that got canceled, I was going to fly in through Dublin and then do a drive. I hadn't figured out how to do it yet. I still will do car travel, manual transmission. It's good. I need that experience. And so helps build my confidence. And so there are a number of places I want to go all around Ireland like I did Scotland. And so I am back to planning in full force. Yeehaw! And oh, it's kind of cute. Doesn't Ireland look like a ghost? Aww.